Okay, guys, so let's talk about this video detailing. Someone asked me this, so I think we should discuss about it. So the person said, "Hello, Milton, how are you doing? Can you please make a video and talk about these two countries? Would you prefer Denmark over the Netherlands for studies?" Now, first, remember, these are great countries, right? Um, I will talk about so many things that you need to consider, but first, you need to ask yourself, you are just moving to Denmark or Netherlands to study, and after studies, what next? You need to ask yourself this. Then you also need to ask yourself, do I even have the required amount of money that if I want to embark on this now, I will use the money to study, or are you eyeing a scholarship? It depends now on you. Ask yourself this question. Then also, you need to ask yourself, do I have all the requirements to apply to any of these countries? This is another question. Then there is another thing that you need to put into consideration. Am I moving alone? Am I moving with family? Then you also ask yourself, what is the cost of living in these places? Or if you are thinking of staying back, you need to ask yourself this question. Will I be able to get PR? Will I be able to get citizenship? And what does it take me to get this? Now, after putting all this, and also do not forget the question of how the visa application is done. Okay, so after putting all of this into consideration, I think it is now time for you to make a decision if you are actually going to apply to Denmark or the Netherlands. Now, let's get started. I'm going to talk about all these things in this video, so please do not go anywhere. Make sure you watch and then you share so that somebody can equally benefit from this material. Now, let's start with the requirements. I want to make all this open for you. Then you will then decide if you are going to Denmark or you are coming to the Netherlands. I currently live here. I study here. Okay, both of them are fantastic countries. And I think one is bigger, the Netherlands is bigger, and Denmark is smaller. But let's look at the options now. Listen to me, then make a decision. Now, when it comes to requirements to study in both of these countries, what are the requirements you need to apply for schools? First, remember, bachelor's in Denmark is taught in their language, the Danish language, right? Fantastic. Bachelor's in the Netherlands is taught in English. Some schools have bachelor's programs in English. So already that is an advantage the Netherlands have over Denmark. Now, you need to also look at masters. Masters in both countries are taught in English. You need to ask yourself, does Denmark have 1 year master's program? For the Netherlands have 1 year master's program. I don't think, maybe there are master's programs in Denmark, but I've checked the University of Copenhagen, Aalborg, Roskilde, Aarhus, and I'm not able to see 1 year master's programs, but you can find these in the Netherlands. So you need to put these things into consideration. Now, the requirements to apply for bachelor's. What do you need? In the Netherlands, you need just your WAEC. Okay, for Cameroonians, you need your O levels and A levels. For Nigerians, you need WAEC. I think WAEC is 6 papers. I can't remember. For some schools, not all, by the way. Then for Cameroonians, you need 5 O level papers and 2 advanced level. The O level papers should have English on it, and yes, that is the qualification. Then your A level should be 2 papers. It doesn't matter if it's 2E at advanced level, but 5 papers and above with English on it, and advanced level 2Es or 2 papers. Then for O levels, for bachelors, you do not need English proficiency. English proficiency from the University of Boya is okay. For some schools, not all, by the way. Then for masters, you need IELTS. For some schools, others may accept you without that. It depends on the university. I've talked about how to go about this to check, right? Study in the Netherlands.nl. You know the link already. Now, for Denmark, then you also need a motivation letter if you are applying, because you need to tell them why you are applying to this university. Now, for Denmark, you remember you cannot study bachelor's in Denmark in English, but you can for the Netherlands. For masters, those documents I mentioned, I mentioned for Denmark, including your bachelor's degree, certificate, and transcript. The same documents for the Netherlands. But IELTS must come into consideration. Okay, most Danish universities will not give you admission if you do not have IELTS. So you need to put this into consideration. Now, for schools in the Netherlands, some might give you admission without IELTS. So you need to always look at this from both sides, right? Now, motivation letter is needed for both countries, and also for the Netherlands and Denmark. I don't know if there is a free school in Denmark. I did application before in Denmark and I paid application fee about 78,000 CFA. But in the Netherlands, you can apply for free in some schools, okay, without application fee. Now, we have talked about the requirements, right? What else is left? Let's go now to the tuition fee. Tuition fee in Danish universities, they charge per semester. In the Netherlands, they charge per year. Okay, put this into consideration. Now, if you look at the tuition per semester, which means per semester in Denmark, you have 2 semesters in 1 year. Some schools will charge you 5,000 per semester. So in 1 year, you pay 10,000. But there are other schools that charge you 10,000 per semester. In 1 year, you pay like 20K. I think University of Copenhagen is an example. But in the Netherlands, you pay just per year. Okay, you pay at once. But if you are already in the Netherlands, there is a possibility for you to pay in small parts, right? Like installments if you are already here. But at the beginning, when you get admissions, you pay complete 1 year. I will explain. Then for Denmark, when you get admissions, you also pay complete 1 year. Denmark will give you like 14 days to pay after admissions. Then the Netherlands will give you like 1 month or 1.5 months. It depends on when you get admission, right? Putting the application opening date and last date into consideration. Now, we have talked about tuition. Most bachelors in the Netherlands, they charge like maybe 8,000, 9,000, but masters is expensive, like maybe 10,000 euros. But in the Netherlands, you can have cheaper options. But remember the charge per semester, I mentioned that already. Now, but payment options for this tuition fee, you will be given 14 days after admissions to pay your tuition to study in Denmark, but you might be given more days for the Netherlands. Now, for the Netherlands, you pay the tuition, you pay your tuition, you pay your living cost money, you pay your visa application fee, and you pay your medical insurance fee. These 4 things you put together and you send to the school account to do you visa. It is the school applying for your visa, not you. For Denmark, when you get admission, you pay the money they are asking, then they will confirm it, then they will start your visa application. They will fill some forms for you, send it back to you, you fill it, then you proceed to VFS Global in Nigeria. This is for Cameroonians now, or those moving to the VFS Global office in Nigeria to apply for visa. You will proceed, but for the Netherlands, you will just sit in your house and wait from your school. When the Dutch immigration approve your visa, your school will get back to you with confirmation. Then that is when you will now take the confirmation visa form, your passport, you rush to the embassy in Cotonou or Ghana, Benin or Ghana. I have explained this before. Then let's look at jobs. In Denmark, it's possible to get jobs in bigger cities like Copenhagen. And also in the Netherlands, it's also possible to get in bigger cities like Amsterdam and Rotterdam, Den Haag. But in smaller cities, it may be a bit complicated. Also, like in Aalborg and other places, but also in the Netherlands, it's also a bit complicated in smaller areas. Okay, but remember, as an international student, it takes time. It's not a rush thing. Maybe 3 or 4 months before you can get a job, but definitely you will get a job. This is part-time jobs I'm talking about. In the Netherlands, students work 16 hours per week. In Denmark, students work 20 hours a week. Put this into consideration. Now, after you finish school to get a job, after you finish your school program, Denmark will give you 3 years to work. Okay? Then after that, maybe you find a good employer and you are good to go. You stay back. In the Netherlands, when you finish school, the Netherlands will give you 1 year. There is something they call orientation year visa. You will apply for that visa. Then when you get it, you use the visa to find a job. You have 1 year to find a job. The job you are finding is a job that can sponsor you for 3 or 4 years, 3 or 4 years to stay back. It is not every company that is permitted to sponsor you. You must apply for jobs in those recognized companies. There are companies on the embassy's website, on the IND website, registered, recognized. You must get a job in one of them. Okay, others may not be on that website, but you need to put this into consideration. So you have 3 years to stay back in Denmark, and you have 1 year to apply for job search in the Netherlands. Then after you get the job search, you use it to find a job that can sponsor you. Remember, in the Netherlands, I don't know how far it takes to stay in the Netherlands to get PR and citizenship, but in the Netherlands, you need, after you study a 1 year master's or 2 years master's, you have 1 year. If you study a bachelor's, you have 2 years. This counts towards your residency. You can just go, if you live here for 4 to 5 years, you can get citizenship, passport. But in Denmark, I don't know how long it is. I'm still going to verify. If you know, please comment below so somebody can learn something. Now, I've talked about how visa work. I don't need to go into that. I've talked about how citizenship work. Then cost of living. Cost of living in Denmark, I think the Netherlands is a bit expensive when it comes to housing. Denmark is a bit expensive. It's somehow expensive too when it comes to housing, as I know. The Netherlands too, housing is a problem. So it looks like the entire Europe has housing issues. So please, you need to put all of these things into consideration. Now, looking at visa fee, looking at housing, looking at cost of living, looking at PR, looking at visa application, looking at the tuition you have to pay and proof of funds, looking at the deposit you are doing for the Netherlands, and looking at jobs after school and requirements, you will now make a decision. Where is it good to go? But remember, Denmark and the Netherlands, they are both good countries. You may want to consider passport strength after getting citizenship. You may want to consider that. If it's for that, the Netherlands is first, Denmark is second. Okay, Denmark, the Dutch passport is more powerful than Danish passport. So you put all of that into consideration, then you decide. Remember, for intakes, application intake, they have two each. Netherlands have February intake and September intake. Denmark have February intake and September intake. So take a look at this. For Denmark, they have few universities. I think they are like 8 or 9. I don't remember. But for the Netherlands, they have many, right? Denmark is a small country. The Netherlands is a big country. So put all of this into consideration and let's see how it goes.